Well, hi there. Um, Hello again. Yeah, we're just going to do a little another like mountain news. Um, this week's been a little different in that there are some climbing news things but one of the things that just came up quite a few times was there's a few environmental things. Some that are my observations, some are actual observations, and yeah, we're just gonna see where it. We're gonna go down a little bit of a road. I kind of going to ask the question: is like are climbers and mountaineers as environmental as we hope to be? Um, what I mean by that is, often we're seen as like the custodians of nature because we engage with it a lot more than other people, and we're going to ask whether that's real or whether there are other arguments to be made, whether we could do better. Um, Before we go into that, I am just going to go into what I did last time. So it's really good to see. I think I had somewhere in the region of like 300 people look at the thing I did last week on mentoring people through the MIT. So I had somebody I'm mentoring, Tej, come in. We went through a process. I don't think I mentioned that there are a few resources that I have. The first one is on here, and I called it the Craig list, as in like Craigslist, but a Craig as in like how you spell Welsh for crag. And it's just a list of routes that I tend to recommend to people, like descents and stuff. And this is how Tej actually found me. He found this list and he decided that he wanted to uh, see what I offered. And it's one of the things that it's a skill that I have. Um, the skills that I have of teaching people. I'm just taking them to a little bit of a different thing because I'm unable to work full time. I am really lucky. I'm going into work for the first time on Saturday. I'm going to be back at the Brennan. Um, but the other place I do this is, and if you want to know more about, me helping you to become, a mountain leader, a rock climbing instructor, a mountaineering climbing instructor, then you can contact me through the message boards of the this is on YouTube, Facebook, and I think my Twitch account. um and one of the things I've done is I've got this Discord set up, so there's a load of resources here specifically for mentoring. One is that MIA skills assessment, like a blank version, so you could do it yourself. We've got an Excel version, a numbers version if you're Mac. There's a few other things in there. One of the questions I got asked by Tej, and I kind of mentioned it in that last one, was assessing students if they're ready to lead, and I kind of put together my thoughts in a PDF. Uh, and then, yeah, this one here is, he was also asked, do I have to climb VS in the pouring rain on assessment? And I kind of answered that there. And so that's just an aside. It's really good if you could support me doing this by, liking and sharing this content. Simply asking questions. You don't have to be wanting to be an instructor. Maybe you're a climber, a hill walker, a scrambler. You've got some questions you want to ask. If you do, that's kind of my wheelhouse. I'm trying to, in my own way, address some skill issues in the outdoors to help people get better and safer. And hopefully, we can counteract this. So, the first thing I want to show you on the environmental side, no, was I found, I saw a picture online the other day. It was uh, a picture of this boulder problem. And I was sure when I did this back in the day that I there was a whole tree there. Like, so you'll see this, and I'll just bring up, hang on, browser, fire that across. And this is it today. Um, Now, this is a bouldering area. It is very off the beaten track. There are no real paths. I couldn't think of why anybody would go there for just camping. It's not right by the road. It's probably a 20-minute walk in. And I mean, I did notice that the tree looked like it was dying back then, but it was just a branch. But I do wonder whether the climbers that have been visiting there have been slowly picking at the tree, or it just opened my the thought process in my head that, sometimes we aren't necessarily the custodians of nature. Sometimes we take things into our own hands. I'll use an anecdote of another kind of devegetation thing. Was on the Great Orme, there is a thing called the Great Orme cabbage. It is endemic to the Orme. It is a very rare form of cabbage, so rare that I think the National Resources Wales, I'm guessing, has mapped where they all are. And one year they went to look at the map to see if they're doing better or worse, and one of them wasn't there anymore, but there was a new route that had been cleaned. And so I'm not saying all climbers, I'm just saying that occasionally we get it wrong. And yeah, this is a thing where, we are all very much environmentalists, but how many of us go on holiday several times a year, flying? I know it's really weird. I used to work for Bass, and Bass is seen as a very environmentally friendly place, but we all have to fly down to Antarctica, like 200 to 300 of us each year on long haul flights. It's it's really hard to ask the questions of, are we being environmentally friendly or not? And so a few things came up. This is climbers that have looked at this route, and if you can see, this little shape here is now here, and they're just saying, there's another 5 feet of climbing, which could be due to natural erosion. But this tree, for instance, this looks like a tree, looked like it was already on its way out. But humans interacting with nature, we create paths, we create erosion, and it's not a bad thing, but there are things referred to as carrying capacity of areas, and I wonder how many places in the UK are surpassing their natural carrying capacity, i.e. the number of people that can visit an area without damaging it in some way ecologically. And it's a shame. I don't know, there are no real answers, but I just wonder whether there are places in the United States, in their national parks, where if you want to walk up a trail, you have to have booked a place because they only allow a certain number of people on that trail per day. Oh, is this gonna? Okay, so this, can I? Or let me see. Is it got? So this is a lake, and the reason that I put this up was, last time I did the news, there was a thing about the bugaboos and the lake that was held back by a glacier, sort of drained itself, and there was a flood, and 60 climbers were thing. I don't think this is this lake. This is somewhere else, but this is the sort of thing that's happened. And global warming is something that's very real, and it's very hard to understand where we are, how soon it is to that tipping point that everybody is afraid of. But this is quite you're going to see this lake drain in 24 hours, basically. looks like it's called a Chakula in action, and yeah, it's pretty horrific. And all it is that glacier at the end has suddenly, that was working as a dam, is suddenly not working as a dam. You know, but then you have to question, you know, is he adding to the problem by flying a helicopter? And look at that blue ice. It's like, you know, that was a proper piece of a glacier. It's quite tragic. This is another thing of watching glacier melts in real time. You know, that's lost a stunning amount of its volume. And this is... Oh, let me just get back to here. Stop. You know, this is like the holes in the late 19th century, and it just kind of goes through the difference in size of glaciers in the Alps. And I haven't got them scanned, but I've definitely got pictures looking up from Chamonix in 1989 when I first went there, and when I went there in, I think, 2010, 2011, those glaciers aren't really visible from the town anymore. And this one is, this is, I guess, a little bit of a thing. It's a tsunami, and so rather than it's a natural process, and so this is just yeah. If you see the water disappear and you're at the sea, get to high ground. So this is like the first bit of swell comes in, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a big wave. Yeah, so this is Greenland. Again, Greenland is probably going through turmoil. It's one of the places, I think, that people that kind of monitor climate change see as an indicator, a bit like when I worked down in Antarctica. Antarctica very much seen as like a bit of an indicator of how bad global warming is. Yeah, so it goes out again. Little boat out on the sea, probably just notice a little bit of a wave, and then the water sucks out again, and then comes. And they're trying to save their boats, man. It's yeah. And yeah, that's kind of the end of the little environmental section, and it's hard, isn't it? You know, even people that are, you know, think they're environmentalists, often modern living isn't very conducive to saving the environment, and so it's just a thought, really. I thought I did this one last time. It's a story of a guy who's, you know, his social media is, you know, trying to free solo and live streaming it. Sure, it's not going to end well. This is a similar story. It's a tragic story of somebody that had, I think she'd done a weird kind of bungee jump. She went back up to the tower to take a selfie and fell off and died. A little bit more light-hearted. Labor Day in upstate New York, 4 hikers were rescued when one of them basically had a bad trip on mushrooms, just having a debilitating high, and the rescue team had to go and rescue them. Um, yeah. Again, we've got the clickbait news. Irresponsible people taking dogs along Crib Gock. It's like, you know, it's a free world, and I've got friends whose dogs are probably almost as good at scrambling as I am. I can remember being on like one of the Idwal routes to the right. It might have been the Idwal buttress. I can't remember. Um, but their dog ran past me. Totally happy with what they were doing. Um, I think it was the people were terrified because the dog ran past them, and it is can be a bit thing. The next one I'm not gonna click on because I don't want to open myself up for any form of legal action. But it was on the if you go on to like one of if you're an outdoor instructor and you're freelance, there is an organisation that sounds like it's very bad at paying, and a lot of people are saying that, you know, on there naming this organisation. And so if you're a freelancer, I would suggest you go on there so at least you know who it is. But it's just really hard. You know, I can remember last year, a guy I know from North Wales, his company went under. Didn't just owe staff, I don't think. He owed, you know, people turned up on their holiday expecting a guide, and he'd gone under. And so, you know, they lost their holidays. And because like if you like because it was overseas holidays, they are, you know, they're covered by APTA. And there's certain, you know, there was a big travel agent that went bust, and they set up this legislation. And so I think he was in trouble for fraud and all sorts. And it's just, you know, it's tragic when somebody's business goes under, and it's really tragic for, you know, if people are struggling financially and they owe you money, it's, you know, it's tragic for you. I worked for a company that was called the Mountain Training School. They were an American company based out of Alaska. I worked for them in South America and in Spain and uh, Morocco. And I can remember I just got to the end of a 6-week course. They owed me £8,000. And my boss called a big meeting, and they'd been struggling. Like, I had to tell my boss I need the money from my last course before I start this next course, and he managed to find the money to pay me. But I knew there were other staff, so he'd called us to a meeting, and he basically held a meeting in Madrid airport telling all of the clients and all of the staff that he had gone bankrupt. Never saw a penny of that 8 grand. It was one of those things where I just had to say goodbye to it. I was like, if I really wanted that money, maybe I could have fought for it. But it was just like, it wasn't worth my time. That, you know, the guy had no money. He owed probably more money to the banks because he bought how. Yeah, it's just not nice. I am going to go back here. There are a couple of things on UKC that I think are worth talking about. If I go latest news, one is I really want to talk about. Yeah, so some people have done the Dragon Back race. It runs the length of Wales. A friend of mine did it and has completed it. I'm totally in awe of her. Well done, Helen. Absolutely incredible. Anybody that does races like that. There is Emma Twyford has repeated James is E10 Emma or Hid, I think Hid, but right down there was. Is there? Let's click on videos. Here we go. Let's get that. Yeah, so this is a video of M's
Emma Twyford has repeated James McAfee's Ohid, an E10 7A at Gathlaroggoff in North Wales. In doing so, she has become the third ascensionist, but perhaps most importantly, the first British woman to climb a UK E10.
And to be honest, if it like, I've been lucky enough to watch Emma climb very hard sport, occasionally trad. She is an incredible climber. Yeah, it's no surprise to me that it was her that did the first E10.
This adds to her already impressive resume. Emma, after all, was the first British woman to climb French 9A. She's also on-sighted trad climbs. However, Steve returned to the route earlier this year in June to make what he described as a pegless ascent, without clipping any of the route's fixed gear.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a video of her, but it's just good old Rob Greenwood yapping on about it. Yeah, so yeah, route with pegs in. Was there something else I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, there's one more video that if I just it's on YouTube, but well worth watching. There's a short video by Sam Bowman. Sam, I think, lives in North Wales, and over the years I think he's been filming. I haven't seen the video, but you know, anything with Johnny's worth watching. He is you know, a legend. He is a little bit of a character. Some people find him a little bit weird. But what you've got to remember is when Johnny came to climbing, the grade E7 existed. Within a couple of years, Johnny climbed the first E8 and the first E9. And it took a long time for somebody to, you know, get to the E10. So, you know, the guy is just an absolute legend in climbing. I've got a lot of time for Johnny. He's an incredible guy, well worth watching. And yeah, that's kind of my climbing news for the time being. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm not saying all climbers are not for the environment. What I'm saying is that, you know, maybe if we actually look and ask ourselves hard questions about how many holidays we take, you know, how we treat the crags, you know, what we do at the crags, you know, walking on well maintained paths rather than creating our own ones. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm just trying to get us to question our own ethics. And yeah, thanks a lot for your time. If you have any questions on, you know, skills for climbing, mountaineering, scrambling, if you're training to be an instructor or a coach and you want some extra help, please do. I really enjoy helping people. It actually helps give me some content. So some of the stuff that I've done with my mentors and some of the questions that I've been asked, I have turned it into some content. Yeah, thanks a lot for your time, and goodbye for now. I've got